If you thought the best way to make money on the Sea of Thieves was by joining the gold hoarders, then let me be the first one to tell you how awful of an idea that is. I mean, it's right in the name. If they are hoarding all the gold, then how are they going to pay you? They're huge freaking frauds. What you are looking for, my friends, is the Merchant Alliance. Regulated work hours, a fair wage, and the ability to make boatloads of money, even as a solo slooper. Don't get me wrong, I love uncovering the vaults of the ancients as much as the next guy, but it's a bit of a stressful endeavor when doing it on your own. Just another reason not to join the gold hoarders, really. But there are a few things you should know before putting on that merchant attire. What is the best way to level up your emissary flag? What are the 7 seas as a commodity? And how should you handle other ships trying to come for your cargo? Well, my friends, by the end of this episode, you will be ready to tackle every single one of these challenges. So pull out your clipboard, start counting your commodities, and get ready to basically print some money. Welcome to the Sea of Tales. The day of our voyage was no ordinary day. Nay, my friends, it was a joyous occasion, for we were celebrating the 4-year anniversary of the Sea of Thieves. In light of the Golden Glory celebration that Rare decided to host, they bestowed upon us a 2x multiplier to everything we'd sell during the event period. With that in mind, obviously we wanted to focus our efforts on what could make the most money in the shortest period of time with the least amount of effort. Introducing commodity runs. Now, commodity runs aren't anything new. However, I never went into detail about what they are and how I go about completing them. Because sure, I could tell you some nonsense about how much money you could make per hour under optimal circumstances, but let's be real, optimal circumstances never occur, and optimal circumstances are also kind of boring. The commodity system functions as follows. Every outpost in the sea has a surplus of and a demand for certain types of goods. To maximize profits, you're gonna want to buy the surplus at a low price and sell it for a high profit at another outpost that has a high demand. Merfolk's Lullaby has a handy dandy map that does all the thinking for you and shows you the exact route you're gonna want to take if that is your goal. But there are several reasons for why I don't use that specific route. For one, commodities do not level up your emissary flag, and the only way you're gonna make your money back is by selling them as preferably a level 5 emissary. Furthermore, if the route leads me straight through the middle of the ocean, chances are incredibly high that anybody north, east, west, and south of me is gonna spot my ship and try to mess with me. We can fix both of these issues thanks to the most recent addition in Season 6, Sea Forts. These massive fortresses, while appearing a bit intimidating, can be cleared very quickly, and the loot inside will help you level up your flag. It also just makes the journey more fun and engaging. You can set a course around the edge of the sea to target both a bunch of sea forts as well as outposts, and by the end of your journey, you can sell all of it in the Devil's Roar, which, yeah, fat chance of somebody wanting to chase you to that hellhole. If you do start with a bunch of capital, you can expedite the process and level up your emissary flag by purchasing supply crates at these outposts as well. You'll make most of your money back by selling them at a fresh outpost, but it does increase your upfront cost, and if somebody sinks you, it's gonna sting even more. You will notice that I'm doing this whole thing with my friend Brandon because it was during the Golden Glory event, which meant that time was of the essence. Just know that if you do it solo, it's gonna take you a bit longer to handle all of that cargo. May I suggest subscribing to my channel for an adequate background noise while you do it though? This map shows the route that ideally I would want to take. You're gonna hit up 5 sea fortresses as well as 5 outposts and then can sell everything on the 6th one. It is a lengthy journey that under optimal circumstances is gonna take you somewhere around 3 hours if you bring a friend and nobody gets in your way. Personally, I have never actually completed this run without somebody attacking me, so depending on the time you have available and your PvP prowess, you might want to adjust the route a bit to fit your needs. And speaking of things not going as planned... Oh god, are you joking?
Dude, I haven't done one of these in ages.
Now, sloop krakens aren't usually something you have to worry about a great deal. The only problem was that while fighting the kraken, we saw another sloop conspicuously coming our way. Thankfully, we kept our cool and told Karen to sod off quickly enough for that sloop to change their mind about attacking. That allowed us to arrive at the next outpost unharmed to stock up on ever more commodities, with our next destination being the neighboring seafort. And as fate would have it, that was also the destination of that other sloop. What follows next is something I would solidly put into the learn from my mistakes bucket. Because Brandon and I figured with us being merchants and them being gold holders and both of us having cleared at least one fort, we might be able to come to an agreement rather than fighting each other. But our plea to parley fell on deaf ears with these guys letting their cannons do the talking.
I literally was just gonna trade with you.
What are you guys doing?
It wasn't until we fought back that these guys began to change their tune, and this should be a lesson for all of us. Always negotiate from a position of power. If they believed they could just sink us and take our stuff, there'd be no reason for them to want to engage in a trade. But once they realized that we were more than capable of kicking their butts, they agreed to trade their merchant items for our gold holder merchandise. Coming to agreements like that is a lot more beneficial for you as a merchant emissary, because every vessel you sink is a potential revenge plot in the making. But if you spare their lives, that's one ship you don't have to worry about. And as a cherry on top, we recruited them into an alliance to make it even more enticing. Remember that our goal is to maximize our profits, and the more trouble we can avoid, the more profitable our commodity run is going to become. But for the time being, we parted ways and both went about our business. And I think you know the drill by now. Go to the next outpost to buy more commodities, shed a single tear over not being able to do that at Golden Sands, and hit up another fortress to stock up on extra loot, as well as a bit of a change of pace. Our plan of sticking around the edge of the sea worked out beautifully. We rarely ever saw any ships around, let alone any that would come our way. And because we never stuck around any one place for longer than 10 minutes, pinning us down wouldn't have been all that easy anyway. That doesn't mean that you should feel too safe. I still periodically checked the horizon and did spot a sloop that turned out to be our gold hoarding business partners. Since they went the opposite direction of us initially, I assumed they had more items to trade, so I prepared their loot in anticipation for their arrival. Time is money though, so I refused to take a detour and instead halted our vessel on the open sea with the expectation of them coming over. The two of them thankfully took the hint, which made life a bit easier for us, but when they finally arrived, it wasn't for the reasons that I anticipated.
We got sunk. You joking? Actually, by who?
No.
Yeah, we got sunk with the stuff that you gave us.
Hey, you can have this. With me being a business-oriented merchant, you might be wondering why I was so willingly giving away our gold hoarder items for nothing in return. Well, that's because there was something I was getting. Information. Merchandise that I get no emissary bonus for was a small price to pay in order to find out how dangerous the seas were. I wanted to know who it was that sunk them, how many crew members they had to handle, and where it was that this fight took place. Of course, I knew that once I had the information I needed, these guys were expecting us to help them reclaim their loot, meaning I had to get a bit political to weasel my way out of that situation. Tell you what, if you get into a fight with them again, raise your PvP flag and I'll see it on the map and just come towards us and we'll try to help.
Alright, gotcha.
It was a genuinely good offer. With us clearing fortresses anyway, we'd have grounds to fight on, and so long that I didn't commit to an escort quest, we could continue to go about a commodity run. I wasn't too keen on getting involved in combat if I didn't have to. I mean, I was a merchant, not a reaper. But time is money. If there was a warmongering vessel on the sea, then we'd best be advised to cut our trip short and sell the commodities immediately before losing everything. And this is the part that everything has led up to. The process of printing money. Oh my god.
Jesus, wait.
I mean, I know that the Golden Glory event was playing a huge part, but considering how little effort it was to get our hands on that stuff, I was amazed how much of a return we've been getting. The money just kept pouring in, and sure, it wasn't as flashy as taking a FOF or an FOTD worth of items to the outpost, but I mean, look at all this cash. Since we had some loot for the other companies as well, we changed our emissary flag before selling just to get a bit of a bump on the ledger too. At the end of this 2.5-hour voyage, we had made about 500,000 gold on a journey that honestly was fairly varied and a lot of fun. I bought my reputation from 67 to 70, secured my ledger rewards, and felt satisfied with my day's work. And don't forget, Rare announced that they will be hosting a community day every single season, and if the last one is anything to go by, this commodity run is going to make a truckload of money. If you want to see how I spent my last community day, feel free to check out the code on screen right now. In hindsight, I should have just done what I did today, but hey, I wanted to try out a bunch of stuff, and well, it was definitely an adventure. But until then, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to drop me a like on your way out if you enjoyed this video, subscribe if you want to see more, and definitely ring that bell icon to not miss out on my next upload. I hope you guys have a day filled with riches on the sea, and until next time, peace!